This is section 12.5. The I can statement for today is I can find centers of circles, so let's write circles right here, and construct regular inscribed polygons. So let's first talk about the warm-up. What is a regular polygon? Well, if you remember from a little bit of geometry, a polygon is a multi-sided figure. It's got to have at least 3 sides. So we start with triangles and then quadrilaterals and so forth. And if it's regular, what that means is all sides are congruent and all angles are congruent. All angles congruent. Okay? And then what does the word inscribed mean? Inscribed means, and here's a little hint, it kind of sounds like the word, so it says inscribed means inside. So when we inscribe something, what we do is we scribe it or rewrite it or draw it inside another figure. So I'm going to have you watch the video on how to find the center of a circle. It's going to end up looking like this. Watch the video real quick and then we'll come back and do the steps. So as you saw in the video, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw 2 chords. Any chords are going to work, but we don't want them to be parallel. So I'm going to draw one over here. So I'll draw from this side to this side, and then I'll do another one over here, okay, about like that. Doesn't really matter as long as the closer they get to parallel, the harder it is. And then we're going to come back and we're going to draw the perpendicular bisector for one of the chords. We'll do this one at a time. Now, one thing that I like to do, because this one's close to the side over here, let's make this one fairly small. We have to be a little bit more than halfway, and that looks like we're a little more than halfway. So I'm going to draw an arc right here, and we'll draw an arc right here. Okay? Then again, we don't adjust the compass. We're going to go from here to here. So we've marked that. And then we're going to draw a straight line between the 2 of those intersection points. So we're going to line this up right here, put my pencil on the line, make sure that we're going to be nice and straight here. And this is one of those where if you make some mistakes, if you're off even just a little, it has a pretty drastic impact on the final answer, on where the center is. So this is a tough one to get perfectly right. Now, this one was adjusted fairly small. It was just a little bit longer than halfway. For this one, I'm going to make it quite a bit longer, and it's okay if we draw lines up here and stuff like that. That's going to be fine. So I'm going to make it quite a bit longer. So I'm going to do something like this. Okay, so we'll mark that there. We'll mark over here. And then we come on the other side. Again, we don't adjust the compass for this step. So I'm going to make a mark here and a mark right there. All right, then we'll come back, again, set up our pencils so that we're not going to hit anything else. We want it really to be right on top of that intersection. That looks pretty good. And then again, the more accurate I am, the better off we're going to be. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to draw like this. So this point right here, I'm going to put a big fat dot there. That is the center. Okay, so we're going to do this on the next one, and this one's a little bit bigger. That makes it a tad easier. So I'm going to draw one over here, nice long chord over here. And then I'll do another chord. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. That'll give us a little bit of space here. So from here to here, and then again, we're going to set the compass to a little bit more than halfway. So we'll go a little bit more than halfway here. So we'll draw an arc there and an arc there. Again, don't adjust the compass. We're going to come back here. Whoops. So now you can see what I've done here is I haven't quite drawn that arc long enough. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to come back over on this side. I've got an intersection point right there. And I'm going to have to make this one a little bit longer. Okay. And we'll come back over here. I guess I could have done that over here at the same time. but we've got that now. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pencil on the line around that intersection, line it up over here. Just make sure it's going to hit that point right there. That looks really good. So we're going to draw a long line here. Now again, it's important to go past this intersection point so we know that we're going to hit the center when we come across this other one. So now on this one, that's a little bit more than half. I'm going to go a little bit smaller on this one. Okay, so I'm going to put a mark right here and a mark over there. And again, I'll make one a little bit longer than I did last time, so hopefully things work. Oh, look at that. I did the same thing again. So one of them was long enough, the other one wasn't. So again, not adjusting the compass. It's okay if I make a mistake like that. There we go. The shorter we make those, the tougher that is. So here we're going to line this up right here. Let's see, we're right on top of that. Going to come back over here. Looks pretty good there. And there is the center point. Okay, so I've got the center on this one and I've got the center on that one. So we know how to do that and find the center. One thing that you can do to kind of check and make sure that if you've done this right, and I've put a pretty fat circle right here. So let's go around here. I'm going to set this to what I think the radius is. And you'll notice that when I come around here, let's see what happens. Gosh, that looks pretty darn good so far. See, we're a little bit off over on this side. Okay. And that's one of the things that we need to be aware of. We are working with tools. There's a human factor here. Even the fact that I've got I think this is a 0.9 pencil lead on this one, that could make it a little bit more difficult to find out exactly where it is. But that's not too bad. As what we're looking for when we correct this is we're looking for the right number of arcs, where they were, that they're kind of curved the right way and stuff like that. We're looking for the process and the steps here. So the next thing we're going to look at is how to inscribe a hexagon. So the instructions for inscribing a hexagon are right here. So what I think we'll do is go ahead and watch that, and then I think I'll have this playing while we do it. We'll find that even though this is a hexagon, it actually turns out to be pretty darn easy to do. Okay, so one thing you might think about after watching that video, you'll notice that they only made 5 marks because we've automatically marked this one right here, so that gives us 6 altogether. So you might think about the fact that, gosh, if this works right, if these are all going to be the same length, if I come here, and then I do this, and I go all the way around. When I do this last one, it should land right on top of where we started. Now, if you do it perfectly, then it works out that way, but it's pretty tough to do this perfectly. So let's take a look at the other side, and we'll go ahead and inscribe a hexagon. So we're on example 2. It says draw your own circle below, then construct an inscribed regular hexagon. So this is the same technique we used on the previous side, but we do want to keep track of the center. And now the bigger you make it, I think the easier this is going to be. So if we're going to keep track of the center, first of all, make sure that we've got enough room to swing around here. So I'm going to put this about right here, maybe make it a little bit bigger. That's going to fit. And I'm going to start over here. And we're going to draw all the way around here, just a nice circle, kind of tilting our compass in the direction of the drawing. And there we go. Now, I've got this tiny little dot right here. Okay, now I'm going to put a dot there to make that a little bit more apparent. I just kind of poked a hole in the surface of the paper with the compass. So here's what we're going to do. It doesn't matter where we start. So I'm going to mark a point about right here. Okay, now I'm going to keep that really small for a reason. So let's see how close we can come. I haven't adjusted this at all. So let's go ahead and make our arc right here. Then we'll be right on top of that intersection, make our arc right here. Right on top of that intersection, make an arc right there. Same thing all the way around. Now we only technically have to do this 5 times. So this is the 5th time right here. We're drawing the 5th arc right here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arcs. Now, how accurate this is kind of depends on the drawing and our tools and different things like that. So let's see how close we came here. Gosh, look at that. That's right where we need it to be. So that's pretty satisfying. It doesn't always work that way, especially if you have to find the center of the circle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw from intersection point to intersection point. So we're going to draw here. And again, be really careful when you're doing this. So put the pencil on that intersection. Make that look about right. There we go. And because each one of these is the distance from the intersection point to the next intersection point, and that was measured on the compass didn't change at all. Every one of these sides is congruent, so that means it's going to be a regular hexagon. So we'll do this one here, pencil on that intersection, line this up right here. There we go. And then one last one. So we'll put the pencil right here, line things up. Looks pretty good. And there we go. Now that looks really awesome. But again, if you're given a circle and you have to find the center, or sometimes even if you're already given the center, sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly. So just be aware of that. So let's take a look at the last part on here. This is how to inscribe a square. And I think what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to have the video play at the same time that we're doing this. So I'm going to follow the instructions on this. So it says mark point A on the circle. So I'm going to put a point right over here, and we'll mark that as A. And that's going to be one of the vertices of the square. So I'm going to follow this right here. And then we're going to draw a diameter across to the other side. Now again, the more accurate you are here, the better off you're going to be. So I'll put my pencil on the diameter, or on the center. Pencil on that one right there. So we're going to draw straight across over here. Okay, so we're in good shape there. We're going to label that one as C. And then it says set the compass on A and the width a little more than the distance to O. Now O is a good way to say the center here. They use C over here. Sometimes we think of that as the initial point or something like that. So it needs to be a little bit more than that. So we're going to go about like this. Okay, so we're going to mark an arc over here. And again, one way to tell if you're doing this right, you can kind of see that this is going to be straight above here. What we're doing is we're making a perpendicular bisector. So we're going to come down here, make that mark there. And again, you can see that this arc lines up with the center of the circle. Then we're going to move over to C, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to mark that. And then we take those two intersection points. So again, line up right here. Carefully line up the other one. I need to move this over just a little bit, it looks like. Okay, there we go. And we'll draw a line from top to bottom. And these two are perpendicular. We just made a perpendicular bisector of AC, so we're going to call this B, and we're going to call this D. Now, all we have to do is take each one of those intersections where each diameter intersects the circle, and we'll just draw a line. And you might want to think as I'm doing this, what are we taking advantage of as far as triangles that would make sure that this actually is a square? So we've got a circle here. We've marked some intersection points around the outside and things like that. So I'm going to put this right here, and that looks good. Okay, so all of these are exactly the same, and what we're thinking here is that these have to be right angles also. Okay, that one's already marked there for us. So each one of those is a right angle. Now these sides right here, they are what's called the hypotenuse on this right triangle. So all of these are exactly the same, and these are exactly the same. So what we have here is we've got four congruent triangles, and the reason they're congruent is because of side, angle, side, side, angle, side. All of those are congruent, so the outside has no choice but to be congruent. But if you'll also remember, if this is 90 degrees right here, and these two are congruent sides, we've got 45 degrees here, and we've got 45 degrees here, and you can go around the entire thing and check and make sure. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to take a look at this one, and it says we want to inscribe an equilateral triangle inside the circle. Now, there's a hint on this one. It says it's half as many sides as a regular hexagon. So what we're going to do on this is we're going to say, well, wait a minute. If I were to come back here and we said, hey, this was a perfect regular hexagon, but what if instead of doing a hexagon, what if we just marked those same 6, and then instead of doing all 6 sides, what if we did something like this? Okay, so that's what we're after on this one. So we're going to come down here. Now you'll notice that on this one, we've got the center already marked, and then we've got the circle. So we want to be as accurate as we possibly can. We're going to set that, and then I'm going to set this one up. Let's see, and I want to be really, really accurate, because the closer I get here, okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to put a mark over here, and we're going to say right about there. I'm just going to put a tiny little dot right there. And let's see how close we come. So we've got one arc. There's two arcs. Again, accurate as possible. 3 arcs. And then I'll switch hands here so we can see. Again, right there. And there's 4. Right on top there. And there's 5. Now, if we did this perfectly, which is pretty tough to do, okay, so you can see we're a little bit off there. That's just a little bit of tool error, human error, that sort of thing. There may even be some distortion in the printing or something like that. But we're going to go with it. So we're going to take this one right here. We're going to skip that one. We're going to go to right here and then to right here. And we'll go ahead and connect those. So we'll line those up. Pencil on the line. Nice straight line. Pencil on this intersection right here. Again, marking right there. Looks good. And then we'll do the last one here. And right on that intersection, and then over here. Okay, so what we're saying is all 3 of these sides are equal to each other. They're all congruent, and these 3 angles would be congruent. So what we have here is we've got a regular triangle, which means it's an equilateral triangle. All the sides are the same and all the angles are the same. So go ahead and rate yourself on this. The only thing that might be a little bit difficult, again, is the accuracy here. You can see that we were a little bit off there. If we had to find the center of this like we did on the front side and then measure to the radius and all that sort of stuff, that can create a little bit of error. So just do the best you can. And again, it's the arcs, it's the pencil marks, it's the techniques that we're after. That's what we're going to check when you take a test on this. All right, good luck.